Hello and welcome to the ScatterVolt channel, and today I'm going to present to you guys my $700, $800, and $900 gaming PCs. Now these are my mid-range budget gaming PCs, and the primary goals of these weren't to make a certain price point, and that would probably consist of me cutting out certain important aspects of each computer or adding on limitations onto each computer, but the goal was just to be flexible with the price and just give you guys a high quality, good gaming PC. I wanted you guys, once you build these gaming PCs, to feel satisfactory once you built them and use them in gaming. So that was the primary goal. There wasn't any sort of stress to meet a certain price point. I just wanted to make these gaming PCs good. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys why these are good through pros and cons of each computer, and I'm going to also list out the specs of all these computers and their total prices. So I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. Anyways, though, real quick before we start the video, I just want to let you guys know of the notification bell button that's right next to the subscribe button of the channel. So if you want to know when my content comes out, since it's a little bit varying, since I only upload on the weekends, and you know, with college and all that, the upload schedule obviously sometimes is a little bit weird. So I would recommend you guys clicking on that button if you guys want to check out when my content comes out, you know, whenever I upload it immediately, because I love it when you guys watch my videos and comment down in the comments below. I really love it when you guys do that, and I just want to make sure that my videos always get out to you guys, because sometimes YouTube is a little bit flimsy when it comes to the subscription box. So anyways, check that out if you guys want to see when my content comes out. So for the first gaming PC on this list, I have my $700 gaming PC, which I would say out of this entire list, it probably has the best price to performance ratio for its price. And despite that, it still boasts some pretty impressive looks with its black, gold, and a little bit of silver color scheme. And along with that, I feel like it's going to have a lot of conveniences that you guys will like when building this gaming PC as well as actually using it. So the specs on this computer are an Intel Core i5-6400 quad-core processor that can run at 3.3 GHz. This has an Asus H110MK micro ATX motherboard, a Kingston HyperX Fury 8GB DDR4 RAM kit, a Western Digital Blue 1TB hard drive, in addition to a Kingston UV400 480GB SSD. And for the graphics card, this has a GTX 1060 with 3GB of VRAM, an EVGA 500W 80+ bronze power supply, and finally this has a Deepcool Ducase V2 ATX mid tower for a pretty nice price. And all this totals to about $720, which I find not to be too bad for this gaming PC. Now, start with the pros of this gaming PC. First off, you're gonna definitely love the SSD and hard drive combo that are inside this gaming PC. With that SSD, you're gonna be able to store your most prioritized Steam games as well as your programs and your operating system, and it's 480 gigabytes, which will be plenty. Right now, I'm living off of a 120 gigabyte SSD, and I'm just making it by, so having 480 on your end will be no problem. And with that, you're gonna have a 1TB hard drive that's gonna be plenty for literally your videos, games, images, whatever. 1TB is gonna be plenty to store literally anything else you need on this gaming PC. Also, another really cool thing I like to point out about this gaming PC in specific is the case. I don't know why, but for $42, the Deepcool Ducase V2 actually has a bunch of really good features in it that I've seen in much more higher end cases for more expensive prices, but I've seen those sort of same features in this case, and I'll go ahead and show you guys some of them. So for one, this has a PSU shroud, which I find to be nice if you want to go ahead and clean up the interior look of your gaming PC and just kind of block out the PSU so you can have a simpler looking PC. And this also has a fan controller built into it that you can hook up some fans onto that can actually control from the top of the case, which is something rare that you'll find in sub $50 cases. And finally, there are so many different storage solutions you can pull off on this gaming PC. You can have hard drives and SSDs on the bottom of the case under the PSU shroud. You can have them in the 5.25 inch hard drive bays. You can put them behind the motherboard tray. You can put them on top of the PSU shroud. There's so many different things you can do in the storage of this case that you can put literally anything you want in it and have it arranged in any way that you like. So the storage solution for this case is going to be really nice, and it's going to be perfect for people who are really pecky on where you want to put your storage solution, your hard drives, your SSD, and anything like that. And just to make one last note, the GTX 1060 in this is 3 gigabytes, but this does have quite the display options on it if you want to go ahead and hook up a multi-monitor setup on it. It has a single HDMI port as well as a single DVI port, but it has 3 display ports, so you can totally rock out a multi-monitor setup on this graphics card card, and not to mention it's the 1060, and I'm pretty sure from what we've all seen, it's quite the powerful card for its price. So I would certainly check out this graphics card if you want a multi-monitor setup, especially for the price of this sort of gaming PC. Now for the cons, I have a few things I like to point out. They aren't major, they aren't deal breaking, but there's a few things I want to point out. So first off, the case in this build, despite how awesome it is for its price, and the reason why it's so cheap is because it only comes with one pre-installed fan. So if you just want more airflow in the case, especially for the grade of components you're going to have in this PC, I would recommend putting in some more fans inside the case. Also on top of that, reviews have said that this case has kind of a flimsy side panel, and when you take it off, it feels like you're breaking the case. So just for future reference, be careful when you're messing around with this case and taking off the side panel, just as a little notice. And finally, if you are like the 1% of PC users who still use a DVD drive bay, just know that this has a side panel that you can open and close to access those 5.25-inch drive bays. So if you're going to be constantly using your DVD drive, you're going to have to open up the case panel, close it, open, close, that doodly-doo thing. But anyways, that's just a little thing I wanted to point out for those of you who are still going to be using those 5.25-inch drive bays. Now next up, I have my $800 gaming PC, which I like to dub the manlet gaming PC, and I'll tell you why. It's small and portable and compact, but it's still really powerful. And for those of you who are going to be bringing your gaming PC all around to like a friend's house or to a LAN party like once every week, you're going to love this gaming PC, and I'll tell you why. So for the specs, this has an Intel Core i5-6600 quad-core processor that can run up to 3.9 GHz. This has an ASRock H170M Mini ITX motherboard. This also has 8 GB of Kingston HyperX DDR4 RAM. This has a Western Digital Blue 1TB hard drive. In addition, with the same Kingston UV400 408 GB SSD that I had in the last build, this also has an EVGA 600B power supply, a GTX 1060 Superclocked Edition 3 GB graphics card, and finally for the case, I'm going with a Fantex Evolve Mini ITX tower. Now let me go and start off with the biggest pro of this PC that I find will be very convenient for you people who are going to be bringing it around. Now first off, let me say, don't be deceived by the size of this gaming PC. I know it's small, but it's still powerful, and it's actually more powerful than the last gaming PC I just listed, which was the $700 gaming PC. Even though it's really small, you guys are going to thank me later, but for being such a small gaming PC, it's going to be so nice whenever you move it around to like a friend's house or to a LAN party. Even if you aren't going to be moving it that much, like let's say you're going to be going to a LAN party like once every 3 months, you're going to love it because it's really small, and you're going to be laughing at your friends who have those huge full towers with like, two 1080s and a freaking whatever inside of it. But you're gonna be laughing at those guys when they're home looking around their huge tower and you just have your little mini ITX Fantex case. So you guys are gonna be thanking me later if you bring this PC to LAN parties, because it's small, lightweight, and very portable. But now, how is it faster, ScatterVolt? Well, for one, this has a more beefed up i5 processor. This can go up to 3.9 GHz, which is enough for gaming. If you're going to be doing any sort of overclocking above the 4.0 GHz range, that's only going to benefit things like editing and rendering. For game, the benefit is so small and not really that significant that really you just need a processor that can go up to 4.0 GHz if you want to get the most out of a processor for gaming. So this i5-6600 is going to do that perfectly fine. Not to mention it's a quad-core processor, and there's nothing wrong with that. And also with that, there's a more beefed up graphics card in this build, which is the GTX 1060 Superclocked Edition. If you don't know what superclock means, all it means is that the people who made this graphics card, from the manufacturer who made it in the factory and stuff like that, they already pre-overclocked the card so you don't have to when you first build your gaming PC, which is nice for you people who maybe could be afraid of overclocking and destroying your graphics card, even though from what I can tell from my own personal experience, I've never had any problems in overclocking my graphics cards. But for those of you who are a bit wary and just don't want to do the work of overclocking your graphics card, don't worry, because the Superclocked Edition of this 1060 already has it for you. So that's something nice for you people who don't want to overclock your graphics card on your own. And just two more things. Number one, the motherboard in this has a built-in Wi-Fi card, so you don't need to hook up an Ethernet cable to this PC because it has its own wireless receiver Wi-Fi card, which yet again is going to be nice for LAN parties and if you bring it over to your friend's house because you don't need to hook up an Ethernet cable to it. And then number two, there's a 600 watt power supply, which will be nice for you people who are planning to upgrade like the graphics card in the future, because I know for a fact that 600 watts is probably going to be the new max if you're going to be upgrading to the next like 1180 or 1170 when those eventually come out. So this 600 watt power power supply should be enough for future upgrades, considering that the processor in this build is not overclockable. Now for the cons, there are only two things I could really think of. For one, people have said that within using this Phanteks case, despite how sexy and awesome it looks, there's a bit of insufficient airflow when it comes to just having the case with its one pre-installed fan. So I would recommend picking up some high airflow fans, considering that we're going to be throwing in a Superclock 1060 and an i5 6600. So if you do want to make sure that your PC isn't toasty after like 2 hours of using it, I would recommend picking up 1 or 2 high airflow fans in addition to the pre-installed fan that's in this case. One more con is that for first-time PC builders, you might struggle a little bit building this gaming PC because of the smaller motherboard, but I wouldn't worry so much about it since it's basically the same as building any regular PC with an ATX mid tower. All it is just scaled down, and with this I chose a very builder friendly mini ITX case from Phanteks, and knowing Phanteks, they make some very high quality cases and they make sure that your building experience is very positive. So I made sure to do that too to help you guys out who are going to be building this gaming PC for the first time in a mini ITX form factor. Now finally, for the third gaming PC on this list, I like to dub this as the Overkill. Super powerful. If you want something that is crazy fast for the price, then this is the gaming PC for you. I made this for you performance hogs who are insecure about the speed of your gaming PCs, because I know there's some of you out there who are like, oh dude, my gaming PC can run like Fall 4 or whatever at like $900, and then there's some people who are like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But if you're one of those people who are insecure about the speed of your gaming PC, don't worry, because this $900 gaming PC is gonna blow everything away. Now for the parts, this has an Intel Core i5-6400 quad-core processor that can run at a max speed of 3.3 GHz. This has an ASRock H170A X1 ATX motherboard. This has a Kingston HyperX 8GB RAM kit inside of it, the same that we've used for all 3 previous PCs. This has a SanDisk X400 512GB SSD, and this has a GTX 1070 Superclock Edition graphics card inside of it, an EVGA 600B 600-watt power supply, and finally for the case, we went with the same D-Cool Ducase V2 ATX mid tower. Now I'm going to say this right now, but this is by far the fastest gaming PC on this list. Not just by a little bit, but by a huge margin. The 1070 versus the 1060 definitely shows in a higher resolution gaming. The 1070 with its full 8GB of VRAM in comparison with the 1060s on this list with the 3GB of RAM, and not to mention the upgraded chipset on the 1070 over the 1060 is definitely going to show. If you want something that is fast and is going to last you a very long time, then the 1070 in this build for $900 is going to do you very well, with its tons and tons of VRAM available for gameplay usage and just very fast chipset. Not to mention it's a 1070, it's gonna last you a long time. It's basically a Titan X but for half the price. But aside from that, this PC still holds some of the same characteristics as the other gaming PCs on this list, those being the very excellent deep-cooled Ducase V2 ATX mid tower, which is present in this case, and the EVGA 600B 600-watt power supply. Now, one con I would like to point out about this gaming PC, for those of you who are going to be rendering large files or are going to be exporting large video files, this might be of a little bit concern to you, but there's a single SSD in this build. But I wouldn't call it all that bad, because this is fortunately one of the better options you can go with for a storage solution. I didn't want to leave you guys with a hard drive for your primary storage solution, since those are obviously not as fast as SSDs, and for being at the price of this gaming PC, I didn't want to leave you guys with a hard drive, so I wanted to make sure you guys had an SSD in this build, so I made sure to go with something that was not super expensive but still fast, but still had a lot of storage, which is the 512GB Samsung X400. So for those of you who are just going to be gaming and you're conscious of the storage that you're going to be putting in this PC, like all the games you're going to be installing for it and all the programs, then you should be fine. But if you're going to be doing lots of video editing or rendering projects, I would look into maybe getting a separate hard drive, but if you're conscious about your storage, I feel like you'll be fine just having this single SSD. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for watching this mid-range budget gaming PC series video. Yet again, click on that notification bell button if you want to see when my next videos come out. But anyways, make sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and all that. And this is the ScatterVolt channel signing out.